Long before names came from books or history, they came from the earth itself, rivers, trees, mountains, and stars. Nature has always been one of the most powerful sources of names in the entire world. Today, I'm sharing beautiful nature-inspired baby names from cultures around the world. River is exactly what it sounds like, flowing water, a symbol of movement and life that never stops. Forest describes an entire woodland in a single word: deep, quiet, and full of life. Oak comes from one of the strongest and longest living trees on Earth, a symbol of endurance passed down through generations. Cedar comes from the cedar tree, a wood so valued in ancient history that entire temples were built from it. Sage is named after the wise, fragrant herb, a plant that has represented wisdom and healing for centuries. Rowan comes from the rowan tree, and in Irish tradition, it was believed to offer protection to those who carried its name. Linden comes from the linden tree, long associated across European folklore with peace and gentle strength. Kai is a Hawaiian name, meaning sea, short, powerful, and tied to the vastness of the ocean itself. Storm captures the raw power of nature in a single word: unpredictable and impossible to ignore. Orion is named after one of the most recognizable constellations in the night sky, a name that has guided travelers for thousands of years. Phoenix comes from the mythical bird, said to rise from its own ashes, a name built entirely around rebirth and renewal. Wolf represents one of the most respected and feared animals across nearly every culture on Earth. Bear carries that same quiet strength, an animal long associated with protection and power. Falcon is named after one of the fastest and most precise birds of prey in the entire animal kingdom. Hawk shares that same sharp, focused energy, a name built for clarity and vision. Stone represents something solid and unshakable, a name as grounded as the earth itself. Flint comes from the hard stone once used to create fire itself, a small spark capable of starting something enormous. Cliff describes the edge where land meets sky, dramatic and unforgettable. Brook is a small, gentle stream, soft and peaceful in both sound and meaning. And dune describes a hill of sand, shaped entirely by wind and time, a name built on quiet transformation. Ridge describes the highest edge of a mountain, a name that feels both grounded and elevated at the same time. Canyon describes a deep, dramatic valley, carved slowly over thousands of years, a name built on patience and power combined. Reed comes from the tall grass that grows quietly along riverbanks, flexible enough to bend in the wind without ever breaking. Cypress comes from the tall, elegant tree often found near water, long associated with strength and quiet mourning turned into peace. Thorn comes from the sharp, protective part of a rose bush, a reminder that beauty and strength often grow side by side. Ash comes from the ash tree, historically believed in Norse mythology to connect the earth to the heavens themselves. Birch comes from the birch tree, known for its pale bark and its long history as a symbol of new beginnings. Colt describes a young, wild horse full of energy and untamed potential. Wren is named after the small, determined songbird, known for its surprisingly powerful voice. Now let's move to the girls, because nature has given us some of the softest and most beautiful names in the world. Willow comes from the willow tree, long associated with grace, flexibility, and quiet resilience. Ivy is named after the climbing plant, known as a symbol of fidelity and lasting connection. Rose is one of the most iconic flowers in the world, a name that has represented beauty and love for centuries. Lily comes from the elegant white flower, often associated with purity and new beginnings. Daisy comes from the cheerful little flower whose name literally means day's eye, opening with the sunrise every single morning. Violet is named after the small purple flower long associated with modesty and quiet elegance. Jasmine comes from the deeply fragrant flower beloved across the Middle East and South Asia for centuries. Iris is named after the rainbow itself in Greek tradition, a name that captures color and light in a single word. Fern comes from the delicate green plant, known for quietly thriving in the shade. Hazel is named after the hazelnut tree, warm and earthy, with a color that has become iconic on its own. Aspen comes from the aspen tree, known for leaves that shimmer and move gently with even the slightest breeze. Juniper comes from the juniper tree, long believed across different cultures to offer protection and clarity. Sky is exactly what it sounds like, vast, open, and endless. Luna means moon, a name tied to the gentle light that guides the night. Aurora means dawn, the very first light that breaks across the sky each morning. Stella simply means star, small and radiant against an enormous night sky. Ocean captures the vastness of the sea itself, powerful and endlessly deep. Marina means of the sea, elegant and connected to the water in every sense. Coral is named after the delicate, colorful formations that quietly build entire worlds beneath the ocean's surface. And meadow describes an open, grassy field, soft, peaceful, and full of quiet life. Wisteria comes from the cascading, purple flowering vine, known for climbing gently toward the light, no matter what stands in its way. Magnolia comes from the large, elegant, flowering tree, long associated across the American South with grace and quiet dignity. Sorrel comes from the reddish-brown wildflower, warm and earthy in both color and feeling. Olive comes from the olive tree, one of the oldest cultivated trees in human history, long used as a symbol of peace itself. Cascade describes the gentle, powerful movement of a waterfall, a name that feels like motion and calm at the same time. Wren, just like the boys list, works beautifully as a name of quiet strength, small in size but powerful in voice. Tansy comes from the small yellow wildflower, cheerful and often overlooked, but quietly resilient. Briar comes from the thorny wild rosebush, a name that carries both softness and quiet protection. Sierra describes an entire mountain range, vast and breathtaking, a name that feels larger than life. Before we finish, let's look at a few more names tied not to the earth beneath us, but to the seasons and skies above us. Summer captures an entire season in a single word: warmth, light, and long, unhurried days. Autumn describes the season of change, when the world slows down and everything turns gold before letting go. Winter carries a quiet, still kind of beauty, a season that asks the world to rest. Dawn describes the very first light of morning, the moment darkness gently gives way to something new. Nova comes from the astronomical term for a star that suddenly grows dramatically brighter, a name built entirely around a single, powerful moment. Comet describes a traveler through the night sky, rare, brilliant, and impossible to forget once you've seen one. Orion, just like on the boys list, remains one of the most recognizable names in the entire night sky, guiding travelers across oceans for thousands of years. Solstice marks the longest and shortest days of the year, a name tied to balance and turning points. Everest is named after the tallest mountain on the entire planet, a name built for reaching higher than anyone thought possible. And finally, Terra, meaning Earth itself, the very ground beneath everything we've talked about in this entire video. Every single one of these names comes from something we can actually see, touch, and stand beneath. The earth, the sky, and everything in between has been naming children long before we ever started writing books. And before we go, a few of these names work beautifully for either a son or a daughter. Sky works just as naturally for a boy as it does for a girl. Open and limitless either way. River carries that same flexibility, strong and constant no matter who carries it. Wren stays small, sharp, and powerful regardless of who it belongs to. Ocean remains vast and deep, a name too big to be limited by anything at all. And Phoenix keeps that same promise of rebirth, no matter who rises with it. If one of these names felt like it belonged to you or someone in your family, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear it. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to EverTiny. Every week, I share names with real meaning, real history, and real beauty behind them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.